So I'm trying to make a habit this November of watching every new trailer for a movie there is to exist, trying to keep up with all the recent news when it comes to trailers. And in my very first minute of research, I came to found this movie, Under the Boardwalk. It's a brand new Paramount movie. The same people behind the SpongeBob movie and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the new one. Now this trailer came out just 5 days ago, so I would have thought, I'm pretty on trend. I'm pretty in the know when it comes to this movie. Until I find out that this movie has already released 3 days ago. This is the one and only trailer for Under the Boardwalk, and it released 2 days before release. Not only that, it's not even being shown anywhere near me. Not only is this movie coming out with practically zero advertising, but it has a limited theatrical release as well. This movie just doesn't want to be seen. Paramount does not care for this movie, demonstrably. And why would that be? Maybe it's because this is a genuinely original piece of film. This isn't standing on the giants that is the IP of TMNT or SpongeBob. It's just a simple little crab movie doing its simple little things. It might have some elements of Romeo and Juliet. It's apparently a jukebox musical, which, you know, would usually make me groan and say, ugh, it's another Trolls. But also, the trailer itself shows no such musical elements. The edit for this 2-minute advert is just cliche, classic trailer schmuck. It's normal pop culture music, but there's no features of singing characters or anything. And though the movie doesn't look to be that incredible, it's not particularly memorable. I'm gonna have to keep looking back at the trailer to remember what's even going on. This is an interesting case where it's clear the creators just don't even care. They're not even trying. I'm sure this is a passion project to the animators. They clearly have some big name celebrities on top, but it is so obviously clear that Paramount themselves are pulling some strings to make sure this is dead in the water. Now, from what I can tell, Under the Boardwalk is all about a bunch of different crabs, particularly our main character, Armin, who's voiced by Cera, learning how to come out of his shell. He's a shy little guy, and he's not quite as confident as all his other fellow crabs. And upon being the host to a second species of crab, there is a rising tension between these two families of crabs. You know, very Romeo and Juliet, until our Romeo and Juliet are swept away by us and are millions of crab feet away from land. They go on an adventure, romance brews, there's probably music, and it all goes on from there. There's also a nice little worm that always lingers on Armin's shoulder as like a angel in his side. Cool, interesting. There is nothing else. It looks a little bit like the SpongeBob movie. The eyes are a little bit like the bad guys. Fine, lovely. You know what? I'd give it all the chances in the world for just being original cinema. In the current state of a lot of animation industry now, it's just so nice to see something not based off an IP, but this is so clearly dead in the water. On top of being released 3 days ago, despite the trailer coming out 5 days ago, this movie is also getting a digital release immediately, in 1 week's time. They're just gonna plonk it on Paramount Plus and call it a day. I can't see this as anything else than a conspiracy to really dig this movie into the dirt. Clearly Paramount are probably trying to make the point that original IP movies just don't work. Look how much of a flop our Boardwalk movie is. Haha. Also, even the title, I'm not even fully understanding. Under the Boardwalk? I don't think that's the greatest movie name in the world, you know? There is another movie called Under the Boardwalk, so apparently it's a thing, but I don't think it's a good title. None of it's really good. There are some nice creative elements, like how you see them playing volleyball with an olive because they're small, but then also there's a lot of cliche elements. They go into the land of the humans, adventure ensues. It might be just a cliche jukebox musical schmuck made by David, and David, because apparently that's the people in the crew, but it's still miles better than the clearly corporate messaging that Paramount Pictures is trying to push by letting this movie flop. Nickelodeon for the longest time has been quite the pit of morals when it comes to their Nickelodeon movies. Ever since they started making SpongeBob spin-offs, specifically against the wishes of their creator, I've never really seen Nickelodeon movies in a high regard, and this just seems to be yet another artifact of that. Now, I don't know the full details behind who's created this movie and what their passion is. Clearly, there is a passion somewhat in the writing department, and the animation is fantastic. Lots of great elements to the expressions of the characters, the character designs with a little bit of seaweed as a beard. The water physics look lovely. But as much as it might be a passion project to the grunts at the very front lines of the production, from a CEO corporate perspective, this is just a sad case on the side. Especially because I don't even have Paramount Plus, so I'm not going to be able to see this movie outright. I live by 3 cinemas, and none of them are showing this movie. And we don't even have that many crab movies. All the characters in this movie are crabs or worms. You can play off of that. There are some interesting developments, other than just hiding in a shell and waving your claws in the air. I mean, actually, that's not even my favorite joke. But you know what? That's fine. I want to give this movie a bad review because it sounds quite cliched, but maybe that's just because it's safe. At least it's trying, but it's not in the background, and it's a real tragedy. This is the first piece of research I've done to find any and all recent animated movie trailers. I want to keep up this trend to just keep up to date on all the news there is, because I'm for some reason usually bad at that. And the very first thing I see is this. Is this a common thing? Finding underground animated movies that are just kicked to the side and run under the carpet before you even get to see it? It's really disheartening, to be honest, because it looks like it could have some real potential in certain directions. Having a crab who wears a shell and he has a worm friend that lives in his shell, that's quite interesting for some character designs. And the design of that worm is really interesting because he keeps having different hairdos with the moss and the leaves that he has around him. All the while there is a backdrop of partying and DJing and that kind of lad culture, which, you know, is fun to watch if you're into that. It will be energetic, clearly. But the moment I see them in the human land, I just think of the second SpongeBob movie. But that's fine. It is made by the same animation studio, so whatever. There's then a background thing about the two families getting more and more tense and going into an all-out war because presumably they think that the other family has stolen their family member or something. This could be a fun, funky little side project. It doesn't have to be the most memorable, amazing thing in the world. It seems fun, it seems mildly creative, it seems energetic, and it seems original, but it's clearly doomed from the very start. I haven't watched it, and it's 3 days out already, because nobody's going to watch it, because they physically can't. Maybe this movie will explode off on digital, since it comes out November 7th on Paramount Plus, but I do not have the highest of hopes. I think this is just an assassination going on in the back rooms of the animation industry, just like every other movie seems to be in some sort of spin. There's either the good side with amazing new animation styles that are also kind of just following a trend anyway, and then you've got this. The death of originality, not through a lack of ability, but through corporate string pulling once again. Seriously, the more I look at this, the more I see these really interesting character designs. There's someone with a shell that's a carton. Our main protagonist switches out their shell at some point, and someone else gets, like, gemified shells. Someone's wearing a bottle cap for a hat. There's more seaweed mustaches, and everyone has, like, necklaces of varying valuable gold on them. I could see a real theme there in the value of yourself being seen in the valuables you pertain, which very much fits when you have temporary homes in the form of shells. But none of that's going to get explored. None of it's going to be any good. None of it's even going to be seen. Under the Boardwalk, though I thought I was early to the crew in finding it, turns out it's not even going to be found at all afterwards. Shoved under the carpet, poorly advertised, soon to be forgotten, and acting as a martyr for a black-hearted message that only pre-existing IP can possibly make a movie. And what a shame, after coming off of such of a high that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, this is what follows through. But hey, at least we got to see the news in a vaguely recent form. For now, my name's been Daz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit.